Passes up.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Eat, Pray, Faith podcast with Dr. Tracy. That's me. And today we're bringing in my very special guest, Stephen Davis, who is the founder and the CEO at NIKKI Wearable device. It is an incredible, I would say it's an incredible invention that is innovating all of the healthcare and revolutionizing integrative and functional medicine. So Stephen, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Can you introduce yourself and tell us your story?
Okay. Yeah, my name's Stephen Davis. I'm not a practitioner. My story is a human story, and it came from desperation because my kids had Lyme disease. My daughter had it for 12 years. And in that first 8 years, we chased everything like everybody else does. But we didn't know it was Lyme that we were chasing. So the first 8 years, my daughter had two sons. They both had significant health issues. And one was diagnosed to be autistic, and the other one was just ADHD off the charts. Schools wouldn't even take him because he just was, you couldn't calm him down. But 8 years into it, I had a university. I knew the medical director there, and I said, could you please just run some tests on my daughter? Because we're not getting any answers from anybody. I live in Canada, and people don't talk about Lyme disease. It's quite interesting the way our medical system works. But she ran some tests for my daughter, and she came back and said, I found a couple markers that would lead me to think that it was Lyme disease. And my response was, what's Lyme disease? I never even heard of Lyme disease.
Wow.
So anyway, as a family, we went, yay, now we know what it is, let's go fix it. So after 2 years of spending tens of thousands of dollars and lots of time chasing all the things that people chase with Lyme disease, we went down the same path that everybody else goes. And we didn't get any results. And so I was in a business where we played around with some frequencies for balancing the brain. And every time I would bring my kids in to run that program for 5 days, they would find relief. But 2 weeks later, the issue's back. And so it was nothing that stuck. But there was something there. And so we started going down a path of frequency healing. And we started capturing. I had to build my own capture chamber. And my capture chamber, this is a cup, but my capture chamber isn't much bigger than this. And whatever I put in it, I can excite it and grab the frequencies from it. So we put plant-based matter in there, excite it, grab those frequencies, and then we would digitize it and put it on what we call our NIKKI. And when we did this, things started to shift. And so we ran our first trial, and with 12 people that had chronic Lyme disease, 3 of them were my family. And at the end of the trial, it was a very intense trial too, because we've learned some stuff since then to just slow the process down so people don't herx. But we went through the trial, and we sent down the results back down to IGeneX. That's who we were working with. And the results came back and said that they were clear of Lyme and the co-infections. But I looked at these doctors that were telling me this, and I said, I really don't care what the results say on paper. My kids are still sick. And I thought my attitude was, if you take an antibiotic, in 7 or 14 days, you feel pretty good at the end if you do it the way they say.
Right.
That's what I was expecting. But that's not what happened. And so even though that the Lyme and the co-infections were gone, when you have Lyme for 12 years, you've got damage to the body. And your body needs some time to heal. 90 days later, it was like somebody just turned on a switch, and my daughter felt great. And my 2 grandsons started excelling in the activities that they had. My other grandson that couldn't go to school went to school, and the teachers the school phoned up my daughter and said, what kind of medication did you put him on? Because they need to have that on file. And obviously she didn't put him on anything. And my grandson they said it was autistic. Oh my goodness. Today, he's just a normal little 16-year-old. And it's more than just being normal.
Mm-hmm.
He's being groomed for the Olympics in LA in 2028 for swimming. He's number 6 in Canada.
Wow.
Brother is being groomed for the Dodgers, for pitching. Like they just excelled in life. My daughter went back and got her teaching degree. And my point behind all of this is they can't do that the way they were. Lyme disease is so debilitating that you just can't function and you lose hope. And when I got my kids back, I could have just stopped. I was happy. We got our kids back. Life shifted in my family. But I met so many people over those 2 years that were struggling with Lyme. There's just no way I could not come back and offer them some hope. And so that's what we started doing. And we would go to Lyme support groups. That's where it was. We would share my story, which is a story of hope. I'd answer their questions. And then I would make them all put their names in a hat. And I would draw a name because I don't care. Our tech doesn't care if you've had Lyme for a week or 25 years or longer. It doesn't matter. Our tech doesn't care how old you are. You can be a newborn or you can be 99. It doesn't matter. And because the way our tech works is we believe that your bodies have been created to absorb light. I mean, we get it from the sun. And there's all kinds of efficiency or frequencies that come into our body that way. Then we learn that your cells, they're designed to retain low energy light. And so we went with low energy. And when you carry these frequencies into the body, they're just information. And so it's impossible to do any harm. It's absolutely impossible. Like the FDA, they said, look, you're not governed, you're under our radar. We're just going to kind of watch what you say you do. And because they've got nothing that they can do to regulate us because we cause zero harm. It's just information. And so when you provide the right information to the cellular network, it goes through and wakes up your immune system to the issues that the immune system's ignoring. And the immune system is going to ignore these issues for, you're going to have emotional trauma or physical trauma that's going to cause some disruption, some imbalances within your network of your cellular network. And we bring that balance back.
Wow.
And so it took 74 different plants for us to put into my capture chamber in order to deal with it, because it's one thing dealing with Lyme disease, but your immune system gets so compromised that all kinds of other things start to attack the body. And so they call them co-infections. There's a lot of co-infections that we had to also deal with. And it took 74 different plants for us to deal with Lyme, all of the co-infections. But then we couldn't stop there. Mold's not a co-infection of Lyme. Anybody can get mold, but when your immune system's so compromised, it allows the mold to start attacking. And
Well, I'm
so,
just gonna pause you because I want to go back a little bit because there was a lot of information. So
yeah,
I like to summarize for the audience. So just for people that are tuning in or didn't catch the first part or have and just need a little summary. NIKKI Wellness, or We Are NIKKI, this is a device that you wear on your wrist. And I love your tagline, Stephen. NIKKI is a wellness center on your wrist. I think that sums it up perfectly. And it delivers frequency information in through to the bloodstream using red light. So there are different suites, as they call them, on this watch that you can choose from. One is a wellness suite, and the other one is a Lyme suite. And, obviously your experience came from your daughter having Lyme and your grandkids being sick as well. In the wellness suite, there's different information to help you with morning, evening, afternoon, allergies, energy, immune, pathogens, pain. That it kind of constitutes total body wellness. What I asked Stephen to work through today was the Lyme suite, because I live in Pennsylvania. We deal with a lot of Lyme, but you are correct. It's highly misdiagnosed because of the way that it is tested for. I think it's better now, but even the protocols that they're throwing at Lyme, as we have learned about these bacteria and or co-infections, they can be sneaky to the immune system. Also, people that have chronic Lyme, like your daughter had experienced, there is that damaged associated response after the pathogen may have been eliminated or is hiding. So in that Lyme suite, we're just going through different ones. There's Lyme Daily, bacteria, detox, emotion, gut health, histamine, Lyme sleep, mold, inflammation, and stress. So I had asked Stephen to kind of go through that suite, give us a high level of what these do, and maybe pick the top 3 for today. And then I have just some questions about your process up till now. So you said there's 74 plants, and we're talking about the Lyme Daily, I would imagine.
Correct.
So everything in this frequency information is plant-based therapies?
100%.
100%. See, that's just amazing. So no pharmaceutical information in there, which is amazing. And you said it took 90 days for the effects for your daughter for that communication to finally get her body to start doing the right things, modulating the immune system through that information channel. So patience in this. Can I ask what did you use for your grandchildren? Was it the same frequency set?
100%.
Okay, so basically there was an epigenetic kind of pass down from mama to babies, and then they were born and they expressed a little bit differently though. So that's interesting.
They did, but Lyme, that's why they say it mimics over 300 different diseases because it depends where it sets up in the body. And so, but when you're dealing at a cellular level, we get to go wherever it's at. It can be set up in your heart. We're going to deal with it, or in your brain. We're going to cross that brain barrier or the barrier for the brain. And so it just depends. I've seen people that set up in their knees. And so, in fact, the very first Lyme support group, that's what we used to do, is go to Lyme support groups. The very first one that we did, there was a big room, and there was one woman in there, and she's in a wheelchair. And she can't because of her knees. And they're telling me this, that Lyme has set up in her knees. And so when I put everybody's name in a hat, I'm thinking, oh, what if that's going to be hard to demonstrate something in 90 days because it depends on how severe your body has been damaged is going to dictate on how fast you heal. And so I always come back in 90 days. And so the whole room was chanting her name.
Aww.
I reach into the hat and I grabbed her name.
That's
And
amazing.
I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can see the results that we need to see. That was our very first one in 90 days. And so I said to them, you guys are so enthusiastic. I'm going to do 2 people today. And it happened to be her best friend. And so they journeyed together and she got out of her wheelchair.
Wow.
And we knew at that point, oh my goodness, we are on a path that's going to help a lot of people.
You had something. You had the magic bullet. Well, tell me, how did you choose the programs within the suites? Because there's several that you can choose from, and each one, it's not something that lasts 10 minutes. I mean, you can leave these run for 8 hours. Is that correct?
That's right.
Each one. So amazing that you get 8 hours of continual information to help your body come back to homeostasis, depending on what you choose. So how did you choose what you put into each suite?
Well, first off, what we ask people, if they're going to use our technology for Lyme disease, they need to do it the way we ask. Because if they do, they're going to get better. And if they're not going to do it the way we ask them, don't purchase it. Because there's some really good science behind what we're doing. And we know that if you do it the way we ask, you're going to see the results that you need. So the very first thing that you have to do, even though you get lots of different suites on this device, the first one that you do is the Lyme Daily. And we used to do 30 minutes of Lyme. It was 30 minutes of detox and drainage, then 30 minutes of Lyme, and then 30 minutes of just a bunch of stuff helping you rebuild your system. People were herxing. Not everybody, but there was a few. And so I said, well, why don't we build a program for those few? And so we slowed it down where you get 1 minute of detox, 1 minute of drainage, and then you get 1 minute of detox and drainage, the 1 minute of Lyme and all the co-infections, and then 60 minutes of things that are going to help start rebuilding your system. The next day, it goes to 2 minutes by 2 minutes by 60. And we want to get you to that 30 by 30 by 60. And what we discovered is people that were doing it in this new way were getting better in 30 to 45 days. They were seeing a significant shift.
Wow.
And we eliminated the other program entirely and just went to this one
Okay.
because it's easier on the system.
Mhm.
People don't herx as much. And it's a minute at a time the first day. And so it's easier, but people still can herx because if you don't have good drainage, that's where when you herx and it's uncomfortable, it's because the body's trying to get rid of these toxins and there's no place for them to go. And so it can be uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
so, but we've minimized that a lot. And so
Mhm.
that's what we recommend first. And if you don't do that, if you do it for 3 days and then you stop and you don't do it for a week and you start again, well, you're starting all over again. And so you never get past that first little bit. And so we always suggest, please do it the way we ask, and we'll get you to where you want to get.
So how many days in a row will they do? Do you suggest that they do? So they're starting at 1 and 60, and then they're going to 2 60. So how many days would they continue to build on the protocol?
30.
Okay. Because you want to get them to the 30, 30, 60. Well, that's
That's right.
interesting because, you get your watch and you just turn it on and might not be a great idea. You might want to work with some of these protocols exactly how you do it. That's interesting.
Well,
Go ahead.
the other programs that are on there,
Mhm.
they're based on, we know that, you need to sleep. And so there's a very good sleep program on there. And in that program, there's over 200 frequencies that go into the body at exactly the same time. And that's what we learned is you cannot help people with Lyme disease one pill at a time. You can't do it because there's so much going on, things hide, like it's quite a tenacious disease. And so we come about it in a very interesting way. And those other things like the histamine, we've got a program for histamine, we've got a program for allergies. All of these things enhance as you build because we're trying to bring balance in your entire system. And once you've got that balance, your immune system starts dealing with all of those issues. And that's the key. That's what we discovered applies to so many other things than Lyme disease because it's more than one supplement at a time. And if you've got 50 things going on in your body, we can help you with those 50 things all at the same time because frequencies don't create some kind of weird cocktail of some sort. They all stay individual. And so they've all got a mission and it's just information. And your immune system uses that.
Yeah.
It's like the very first vaccine
Hmm.
that was invented, the very first one. What they used that for was to wake up your immune system to a health issue it was ignoring.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing. We're just waking up your immune system to an issue it's ignoring.
Yeah. And back in the day, I mean, it was one thing in a vaccine that was taken from somebody that was sick. It wasn't adjuvants and excipients and all the other things that they're putting into them today that make them extremely harmful. And, obviously, Hahnemann, who had founded homeopathy, saw the same thing. He watched nature give information. When he was overseas and watching people come down with malaria, he noticed that the one plant next to the riverbank was the only plant that the mosquitoes did not go near. And he thought, maybe there's something to that pheromone that it's emitting to protect itself. And how can I utilize that from nature to give information to somebody else's body? And that's really how we started with homeopathy in general, and not necessarily having to have tangible constituents that we needed to swallow, but we could have a frequency of what once was, and it became information. So if people aren't familiar with homeopathy, they may not truly understand how valuable this is. But, my own personal testimony was I had used this for a few clients. I let them borrow mine. And one in particular was a child that had very high eosinophilia. And they couldn't get it down, and the mom didn't want to do steroids, and there were some other factors that contributed to it. But long story short, I said, why don't you borrow my watch and put it on the parasite protocol? Because I had that from the Cellcore event at ECO. And she did. And she ended up, I do believe, buying two watches, one for herself and one for her son, because he was just at a point that he had had a diagnosis and was going through some treatment, and he just didn't want to take any more pills. He was a kid, he was over it, and nothing was making him feel better. And so when she came to see me, we had him on a protocol, but they were going on vacation. So that is how I watched. And actually, I think I texted you after that. I was like, this is amazing. And that was last year. So finally, we got it onto the Get Healthy catalog, and then I got it on my store. So super excited to be able to offer this to my audience, because I work with a ton of chronic issues. Talk to me a little bit about the mold, because I'm seeing a ton of mast cell activation in my practice, people that are really sensitive to mold. And not everyone is, as you were saying, but talk to me a little bit about that set.
Well, we were in the Bay Area in California at Lyme support groups, and we were testing people, and everybody, not 98% of them had mold. And so we learned at that point, I can deal with the Lyme disease, but if I don't deal with the mold, you're not even going to know the Lyme disease has been dealt with, because mold can be just as damaging to your everyday life than Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started capturing more plant matter, more things that would be able to deal with the mold within your body. And so that just became part of the program, even though we don't call it a co-infection. It's still everybody, when you have a compromised immune system, the way particularly Lyme does, it just allows bad things to come in and do bad things.
Yeah, you're
And
already inflamed, so it's just more inflammation.
that's,
Absolutely.
and so we deal with it within the body. And we feel for, people that have not just mold, but Lyme, their resources have been depleted trying to overcome so many different things. And so this helps them get to a place, it helps them financially as well, because it slows down the spend.
Absolutely. And it's something that they can do anytime. Even if they don't feel well, they can simply turn this on and run some of the programs. Do they ever get to a point, do you feel, with people that have utilized your wearable, have overcome the symptomology of Lyme and the expression of Lyme? What suites do you find that they run, or frequency sets do they run most often in a maintenance stage?
Well, once you've dealt with Lyme, they usually will switch over to our wellness programs, because now there's lots of things that the body can receive a benefit from, because the actual Lyme is gone. And so your immune system isn't so compromised. And so now there's lots of different things. We're not a silver bullet where we just fix everything. But what we do is we help the immune system get to a place where now the health providers can provide all kinds of things that they're skilled at and start to see those results. It's just really difficult when your immune system is so compromised. It's hard to help people. If you've got a thyroid issue, it's hard to help you with that thyroid when you have Lyme disease. Like it's just difficult.
Right. Yeah. It's basically a victim to what's happening versus an issue that's causing all of the problems. I always tell, most of the time when we have breakdown of a system or a function, it doesn't just decide one day that it's not going to work. Usually there's a culprit or an instigator that began. So in the wellness frequency set, there's different, a different availability of these frequencies. What does morning, afternoon, and evening? Tell me a little bit about those three. What are they good for?
What we did with those is I got, when you've got our device, you choose the program that you want to run, and there you go. In the beginning, I'd get on planes. And so what do I want to do? Do I want to be stress-free, put my stress and anxiety one on, or do I want to stay healthy? So I would put something on to combat pathogens. And then you have to make a choice. And so what we did is I said, to start with, why don't we just build a morning, afternoon, and evening? And we choose 3 different frequency programs, and they work for in the morning. So you're not having to make that choice. So you've got 3 things going on in the body at exactly the same time. And that's the same for the afternoon and same for the evening. Once the evening and you're getting ready for bed, well, then you flip on your sleep program. And I'm telling you, you're going to sleep if you use our product, because we're doing so much to help your body restore itself from the damage that was caused just by the day. I mean,
Mhm.
we're bombarded with EMFs, with all kinds of stuff going on in our world. And so while you're sleeping, Nikki goes to work to start restoring and helping you recover from some of that damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks cool too, just in case anybody doesn't know. I mean, these are pretty neat. Um, and they're also easy for kids. Have you had great results with children beyond your own 2 grandchildren? I know that that was a tremendous testimony. What other testimonies have you received from parents of kids that were chronically ill?
Well, families usually have the same issues. And so one interesting thing that we discovered with kids, they never hurt. And I don't know why that is. I'm not a doctor. I haven't drilled into that with the kids, but I don't know what it is, but they just seem to just, if they've got Lyme disease, they wear the device and they just go through where their parents will be sitting doing the exact same program at the exact same time and they hurts. And so I don't quite understand that part, but kids have no issue
Mhm.
with our tech. Obviously, you can't put the device on them when they're really young and let them just go out and play and they lose things.
Yes, they do. They lose a lot of things. So, what are some of your favorite testimonials from the results that when people wore this device? Like, give me your top 2 or 3 stories that you love.
Well, one story is a family of 4 had Lyme disease. And so there was a gentleman that I wanted to introduce our technology to on the wellness program, not the Lyme. And so I loaned him a device. And I said, try it for 30 days with the sleep, and then I'll call you up and you can tell me all the good stuff that happened. So I phoned him up in 30 days, and he says, oh, I didn't try it. I says, what do you mean you didn't try it? He says, my best friend, him and his family have Lyme disease. So I know that you did something with Lyme, so I gave it to them. And I said, but there was nothing on that for Lyme disease. I said, why don't you introduce me to your friends? So he did. They've spent $2 million over a long period of time trying to get better from Lyme disease. And so I said, look, use this. I gave them all NIKKIs with the Lyme program. And within 6 weeks, they got a clean bill of health. And
Wow.
they still have a clean bill of health. And they're very close to our company. And we've helped them on many other levels. And but that's one of my favorite stories because they were financially depleted and just had no hope. And our technology came in and changed their whole family.
Amazing.
So those are exciting stories. My family is also an exciting story for me,
Oh, yes.
but
Yes.
it's the Lyme support groups. Every time we go to those, we see people overcome. And I love what we do. It's nothing easy. It's not for the faint of heart. Lyme is hard. Governments are hard when it comes to Lyme disease. Like it's very interesting the way the world looks at Lyme disease. And I can understand it because it mimics over 300 different diseases. So it can cause some issues on people rushing healthcare services. If you say that the chronic Lyme is real and then they've got 300 different diseases that mimics, well, you can imagine how many patients are going to come to you and say, hey, I need to get tested for Lyme, but I've got one of their symptoms or whatever. And so I understand to some degree where it's at because Lyme is a major issue globally. It's not just in the East Coast of the United States or Canada.
Oh, not anymore. Mm-mm. And that
Yeah.
was the problem a few years back, is that if you weren't on the East Coast where it originated, um, nobody would test you. You couldn't get tested. And still, with the Western blot and, the testing that they run for Lyme, there has to be so many, blots on the Western blot and so many markers. And if it's not at that level, let's say you're one down from each, you will not get diagnosed. Now, hopefully, most practitioners, doctors on the Western allopathic, they will treat regardless. But even with that, it's a 21-day stint of doxycycline. They don't test for co-infections. They don't look for flaring Epstein-Barr. They don't look for underlying instigators that might be exacerbating the issue, such as mold or mycotoxins. And so you have this person who is so symptomatic, spends hundreds of thousands of dollars just trying to find out what's wrong with them. And then once they find out, there's no true protocol in the Western side that will bring them to total health. And then they go to a functional practitioner and they have to spend all of this money out of pocket. So it is a really hard chase. And I deal with people like this all the time. So when I got introduced to this, I just thought, this is amazing. Yes, it's a one-time purchase. It may be a little bit money up front, but these frequencies are in there and they're yours. And you can run them and run them and run them. And then if you get the wellness suite, as you said, you can start to run frequencies to help rebuild pathways that have been affected by the Lyme and the Lyme pathogen. So I love your device. I think it's amazing.
Well, when we started, I started sales with our device at the last half of 2019 and just going to Lyme support groups. And we were doing extremely well. And so we said, okay, this is the path. We're going to go into these groups and we're going to help them. And as we launched in February in 2020, so did COVID. And it made it extremely difficult because we lost access to the front of the rooms. And people don't just jump on Zoom calls. At least they didn't in the beginning. Because with Lyme, you're sensitive sitting in front of your computers and trying to take in the information and trying to read things. Like, we understand that, we get that. And so those were very difficult times for us,
Right.
knowing that we've got something for people that are struggling, and we can't find a path to get it to them. But everything's changed today. We've found our path, and we're helping a lot of people through Lyme support groups, through events, but primarily through practitioners. Practitioners are stepping up because they see the benefits. One of the first medical doctors, an MD, that reached out to me was Dr. Lee Aaron Keneally, and she's got a very large practice in California. And she gets all the tough chronic cancer, Lyme, things where there's not a lot of hope for people. And she phoned me up one day and she introduced herself. And she says, I have to get you to come down to explain what this is, because my patients are getting better. And so I came down, and she's got a lot of doctors in her facility, and we educated them. Today, it's mandatory in her clinic where all the doctors have to wear a NIKKI. And it's just a very interesting approach. But I hear them talking all the time about how it reduces inflammation. I've never had Lyme disease, but I wear my Lyme program just because it reduces inflammation.
Interesting.
Because I believe that inflammation is the precursor to most all disease. And if you don't deal with the parasites, I think the parasites are going to help keep that in your system. And so there's a few things that need to be dealt with, and we deal with those. And we've learned that through practitioners, through the struggles that the patients are having.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're not a silver bullet, but we're a great piece of technology to have in your toolbox in helping on many different levels. It doesn't matter if it's allergies, it doesn't matter if it's stress, fatigue, sleep. Those are general things. But then when it comes to practitioners, they get to go into their toolbox and put things on the NIKKI that's going to help you in a different way than our company can. We're a general wellness. We do Lyme disease, but that's because that's where we started. That's just where that all began.
Mm-hmm. So what is the difference between Lyme Daily and Lyme Sleep?
Well, Lyme Daily is dealing with the program, So it's getting rid of Lyme and all of the co-infections. So that's what it's dealing with. It's dealing with drainage and detox to help the body go through this process with minimizing the herxing. The Lyme Sleep is a program to help you sleep. It's not doing anything for Lyme. It's doing other things for the body. And while you're sleeping, it's rebuilding the things that Lyme has damaged. And so, but it's not going to deal with Lyme itself. It's more of a healing portion of our device to help you overcome things that the Lyme has damaged. And there is damage. There's no
Oh,
question.
absolutely. Yeah. So what's in the future for NIKKI?
Well, we continue to put together programs. The Lyme program is something that, we're not even building on that. It's something that works. And that's the program of choice. When we started with that, it was $2,500 for the Lyme program. That's how it started. And there was no extra programs. It was just the Lyme program to deal with the co-infections in the Lyme. And my goal, because I didn't start this to go and build a business, I started this to get my family back. And if there would have been something out there to help with Lyme disease, we would be having a different conversation today if I was even known by you, because we wouldn't have gone down this path. But once we did go down that path, there's no way we could stop doing what we're doing. But I think that one of the things that's coming, people ask me all the time, can you prevent Lyme? And I don't know how to prevent Lyme. I mean, you go for a walk somewhere and you get bit by a tick, or if you get born with it, like, how do you prevent it? I don't know how to do that. But something that I have recently come to grips with. If I was out east where Lyme, one of my partners, he's with the Boston Bruins, and he says to me, when I go out to get wood, I always wonder if today's the day I'm going to get Lyme disease. And because there's a lot of Lyme on the East Coast. And so one thing that we're kind of leaning towards is, if you wear my device, I don't think I would if I lived out east, I don't think I'd send my kids outside to play in the backyard without wearing this particular device.
Mm-hmm.
If they do get bit by a tick, and that tick does carry Lyme disease, they'll never know it, because our device will deal with it before it goes chronic. And so that's a very interesting approach. Like, I always think about preventing it. I've always said, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. But what we can prevent is from something going chronic. And that's a very interesting, we're just starting to talk about this. This might be the second time I've even brought it up on a podcast.
Interesting.
Something, I think the world is going to wake up to this fact that we can help and protect from something going chronic. I can't stop you from getting it in the first place, but we can stop the issues that start to come over time.
Well, I think the biggest issue with Lyme is that it does go chronic and can go chronic. I mean, any infection could, but it is because, like you said earlier, the way the world looks at it and how it's mishandled up until now, right? So this device does have the opportunity, you can wear it easy, and perhaps it's going to keep it from going chronic. And I think that's a really good, safe statement to make, because nobody can prevent you from getting bit by a tick. But we can certainly modulate the immune system through good communication so that it can handle whatever is in the bloodstream and in your body. So I love how you said that.
I think 90% of people, I'm going to just say this, 90% of people don't even know they've got Lyme until they've got all kinds of issues that have gone chronic.
Yep, correct.
And it takes years and years for a practitioner to say, oh, maybe it's Lyme.
Well, in addition to that, a lot of people don't even know that they may have gotten bit, right? So it's both. I hear it all the time. The reason that people don't go seeking out, could it be Lyme, is because they don't ever remember having a bullseye rash or a tick on them. Or so, like you said earlier, there is this genetic ability, epigenetic ability to pass this along. I think we have to remember that, especially with, conception and birth and children, that we have kids that are being diagnosed with Lyme now that are 10, 11, 12, 13. Maybe the mom had Lyme. So I always ask about family health. I ask about childhood health. I want to know, like, did you have strep? Did you have Lyme? Did you have Epstein-Barr? Like any of that, because that matters to me as an adult. Because if the body didn't have enough through growing up, your cells are going to be damaged associated. They are not going to be able to recover fully. And that's an issue. That's going to be an issue in communication in your body, recovery in your body, performance, all of it. So it's a great and valid point, to not always know exactly, um, did I get bit or not, but to ask the question or do the test to find out. So very cool.
One of my partners, he's the medical dude for the LA Dodgers. And he had Lyme disease when he was with the Nationals. He was the medical director. And that was back in 2017. And he reached out to me, bought a device, but he went and got tested so he could see that he had Lyme and all the co-infections. So then he started wearing our device. And every 3 months, he'd go and get another test, or every month. But there was 3 or 4 tests that he went and did. And you can see everything dropping off. And the last test, everything was gone. I'll send that to you. He's totally open with, he's a doctor. He's totally open to letting people see, because
Love
he,
to see
he
that.
he didn't want to just go by how he feels. He needed to see exactly what was going on. And he shared those with us as they happened, and they just fell off. And he's been my partner now since 2017.
Wow. See how it works. Well, I certainly appreciate coming here and discussing this incredible wearable device. I know that it's one of my favorite things. It's on my 12 gifts of Christmas that I offered out to people. So if you're interested in learning more about this device, I will put the links in the show notes, and you can find out more about the NIKKI wearable, the wellness, and the Lyme suite that are available right now. And Stephen, thank you for your contribution to the health and wellness field. It was much needed. And I know many people have experienced such incredible results using your technology. So thank you for everything you've done.
Well, I'd like to end with one other thing.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a NIKKI with a full suite of the Lyme program, or the choice of the wellness program. And I'd like you to, any way that you decide that you want to do it, you can give that away to somebody, one of your patients. You can create a contest, they can call in. It might be people that were viewing this, but you decide how that is. And we'd like to gift you that to be able to honor one of your patients and
Wow.
let them see how it actually works.
Thank you so much. That is an incredible gift at an incredible time of year. And I know there's somebody out there that will be blessed by, the Lord to receive this from you. So I will absolutely put that in the show notes, the opt-in for the contest. You can just submit your name, and we will do a random drawing of somebody in there so that we can bless you. Stephen's company can bless you with a watch, and you have a choice of your suite, either wellness or Lyme. So thank you so much. That was so sweet. I so appreciate you.
And could I just share one personal thing?
Of course.
Go up. So I'm just going to share a little bit about my faith, because it's the foundation of what we do. This is how we went down this path. I walk with a dude named Jesus, and I believe the Bible to be true. And if I believe the Bible to be true, I have to believe that when God spoke everything into being, it was literal. And when he spoke, those are frequencies. When you and I are exchanging conversations, we're exchanging frequencies. Everything is frequency based. And if he's the same today as he was then, why would he not restore his creation using frequencies? See, everything is frequency based. You take a supplement, it's a delivery system for a frequency. A tincture from a homeopathic doctor, it's water, alcohol, and frequencies. if you take a cream and it's got CBD or something in it, that cream becomes the delivery system for a frequency. And we've just come up with a very clever way of packaging and capturing frequencies and delivering lots of them at the same time into the body. That's safe. And that's the foundation of what everything that we do, and everything is frequency based. One of the really good things, we learned that people that have Lyme disease are extremely sensitive to EMF. And so one of the things that I did is on our device, there's a little circle, a red circle around our Wi-Fi. Once you've downloaded the frequencies onto the device, you can go into the device and turn off your Wi-Fi so there's zero EMF coming off our device into the body. Because once the frequencies are on, you don't need to be hooked up anywhere. And so that's one of the things that we're really proud of that we paid attention to, is to eliminate 100% of the EMFs coming off our device if you turn off the Wi-Fi once you've got the wellness programs downloaded. And so that's very important to know because it helps a lot.
It is. That's extremely important because sometimes people look at this and they think, it's like some sort of EMF loaded watch, and it's not. When I did the immune earlier, I did it so long my watch died. I did the immune earlier, and Janice was the one that taught me to turn off the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi. She was like, you don't need it on. She's like, you only need it on when you're pairing it with the app and updating all of your suites. She's like, after that, just turn it off when you're running it. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I appreciate you bringing that up because I think sometimes people worry about like how much EMF emission is really happening here. So thank you for pointing that out. Well, do you want to leave us with any final thoughts before we end the show?
Well, I think the best final thought for this year is, you just need to get some rest and enjoy your Christmas and your family. It's
Right.
the intention behind what we do that launches, that's 50% of the battle right out of the get-go, is having the right intentions. And I just know that, Tracy, you have the right intentions. You're very intentional in what you do, and your goal is to help people. And I know many ways that you go about that, and one is through your faith.
Well, thank you. I walk with Jesus too. So, and I think that he has given us all things here that we can utilize to glorify him if we just stop, be still, and listen. It's all here. And I know that. And so I really appreciate what you've brought to the table today and all the practitioners that use your device. And I so appreciate you sharing your faith because not a lot of people do. And this is a Christian podcast, so we talk about Jesus a lot. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm sure I'll talk to you many times before that. But guys, I will put everything in the show notes that we talked about today. Plus, I'll add some highlights to the transcripts so that you can see some of these highlighted points we talked about. Have a very blessed Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless everybody. And thanks for joining us. Don't forget to share this podcast to somebody that would benefit from winning a NIKKI device or even purchasing one for their family. And somebody can just benefit from this information. That is our goal, to bless many. Thanks for joining us.